listener with was wondering if the public media in the U.S. has been to international journalists as content providers, which might be a way to maybe open it up a little bit more as you do. And I think the BBC has gained a lot of trust overseas, that grow overseas. So it's because they don't only engage a lot of local reporters in their international reporting, but also they do a lot of the training as well. Right? So I wonder if there's a way to partner with organizations to do that.
Good question. One more.
Kate Woodson with the Voice of America. In embracing new media to build the common culture, how are you not going to alienate the very communities that need independent media the most? For example, those who aren't connected to the internet. For Mr. Thompson.
Great. So, Mark, why don't you answer the two that were directed to you, and then we'll ask each of the panelists to comment as they wish and maybe offer closing thoughts.
I mean, we have to broadcast the world we've got, and this is a country, the UK is a country where you've got people moving into the digital future at as many speeds as there are people. I mean, in other words, what we would say, there was an interesting question about diversity on PBS earlier. We broadcast to everyone. We broadcast to majority populations as well as minority populations, and the ideal is that there is a core service, and we still, for example, world service, shortwave radio around the world, which is accessible with the minimum level of technology available. But on top of that, you're building potentially capabilities, access, enrichments, which can work for people who want to use them, but still with a really strong core which is available to those audiences. And the other thing I'd say about the BBC, actually around the world, but certainly in the UK, is we would see it as a specific mission to take groups who are not currently digitally enabled and to work with them, this is a form of, if you like, social action or education, to try and explore ways of encouraging them to think about a digital adoption. So in a way, one thing I will say is that one of the things we try to do with some of our radio services in the UK, which appeal to older audiences, is to actively encourage those audiences to think about email and think about social media and so forth. I'm going to slightly duck the question about public broadcasting in this country, except to say that I think what I've heard today feels to me like the right strategy. That it seems to me, frankly, whoever you are, whether you're commercial media or non-commercial media, figuring out things that you can do excellently and which can punch through, because the need for them, the appetite for them, they can punch through. A single program can transform the fate of the entire broadcast. One program which feels fresh enough, relevant enough, exciting enough. I think that it's by concentrating your efforts and thinking cleverly. I mean, the less resource you've got, the cleverer you've got to be about it. In a way, is the way forward. And in a way, it's the programs that help you win the political arguments. Political arguments never lead to better programs. It's always the programs that get the political breakthrough.
Let's see, if I were to close with, because of who's on this panel, we're tending, from an American perspective, to conflate public media and public broadcasting. And I would urge for the U.S. that we sort of pull them apart a little bit. To my mind, the ideal central, originating medium for public media in the United States, at least from a journalistic point of view, is the World Wide Web. And I would advocate really focusing on that. My sense is this is first of all, it's a miraculous and wonderful medium, particularly if we get to universal broadband access. It can do everything. That is, it has very low barrier to entry, it has very low barrier to access, a big toolkit that you can use as a journalist, and this kind of interactivity that erases, as Geneva said, borders between producers of material material and audiences and erases national borders and so on. The web has one big problem, which is it does not have a way of supporting particularly original reporting. It's fabulous at reporting voluntary content creation, but not the kind of content that you have to pay people to produce. I sense from just informal conversations that I'm having tremendous disillusionment by the commercial entities in media, all media, with the web. And you're already starting to see a little bit, you'll see more kind of exit from the web. So my sort of hope / prediction would be the web would emerge as the dominant public medium, at least for journalism. And we should really think about the problem that way. Another good thing about the web is it avoids the one big voice problem very neatly. If we can find funding sources to create multiplicity of funding for each news mission. So, you know, I have enormous respect for the two people on either end of our panel, and they do wonderful work, but I don't want everybody to leave thinking the way to solve this problem is through the existing, you know, public broadcasting officially named entities only.
I think what brings us together here is a concern about how we're going to ensure the continued flow of high-quality public information. And certainly one important answer I think all of us hold dear is the notion of public media. It strikes me that two important quick points are worth affirming that come up before. One is what I call news literacy. You certainly raised it. Helping people understand that they themselves will have the media they support and choose. And in this particular era with such a mass of media, with people not knowing quite what to do with it, it's terribly important that we, and I think this is the role that journalism schools can play. We ought to be helping people understand credibility, understand the various, I love the way you put these, accuracy, impartiality, independence, seriousness. How do you judge these? And how? So it strikes me that news literacy is terribly important. Another one, and Mark, you raised this one as well, when you talked about wanting to eliminate duplicative efforts. I think we should take that lesson to heart. And Paula, you said this, your stations are looking at not duplicating, and yet it's hard for existing legacy media institutions to give anything up. And, you know, you've said it differently. Some people call it do what you do best and link to the rest, et cetera, et cetera. We have to, in any given community, really think about the public's need and figure out what it is we can do and collaborate with others. And it's, I mean, in LA, we're thinking a lot right now as a journalism school, because doing this, all journalism schools worth their salt are now producing a lot of information. And we're, you know, people come to us and say, partner with us. Well, I'm not going to partner with you if X partners with you, you know, because I'm not. So that's going to be hard. But I believe in this participatory culture, we have to think about collaborating with the public and with one another so as to ensure this continued flow of high-quality information.
Paula, the last word.
I'm going to end with a note of optimism. When I came into public broadcasting, and I've now been involved for 18 years, I looked back at the early days and thought what an extraordinary time that must have been, and regretted to a certain extent that I had not been part of it, and I feel that I'm part of it now. I think that we're really on the cusp of an exciting time in media, and I think that the thing that was at the early roots of public broadcasting that, I think that what was at the early roots of public broadcasting that we're seeing now is a period of great experimentation. It is a moment when organizations are coming together, and I agree with Geneva, partnerships are extraordinarily hard because people don't want to give up and they don't want to try new things. But I think we are working now in a neutral new space that it does give license to take on work in very different and profound ways. So I think that as we look back, if we were sitting in this room 5 years from now looking back, I think the whole media landscape is going to look, and certainly journalism is going to look profoundly different. And if we don't take the opportunity now to really try to build up some of those partnerships and think about some of the new ways that we can move forward and look at the new ways of bringing in funding, including government funding, we will have indeed lost a moment.
Thank you very much. All of you. Thank you, our partners at Free Press, the two Joshes, the panelists, Paul, Geneva, Nick, and Mark in particular. Our thanks for being here with us for such a thoughtful presentation and leaving us with so much work to do. Thank you all for your patience, and we're adjourned.